Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucamus Prime here, so it is time for the next episode of our series of Old is Better Than New. And in today's video, I thought I'd cover this time a special occasion of videos today because I thought it'd be a good idea to also include a book franchise in this series. And I thought it'd be a great idea to first of all talk about my favourite book franchise of all time by my favourite author, who is the absolute legend J.R.R. Tolkien. And this book franchise, what I'd say that Old is Better Than New for its media, is none other than the franchise of Middle-earth. So, when it comes, of course, to my life as a fan of Middle-earth, when I was about 12 years old, in the UK, the Hobbit prequel trilogy was releasing in cinemas with their first film. So I thought, why not get into Middle-earth? So, in anticipation for it, I, of course, bought the Hobbit book. I read it, and in my opinion, it's a phenomenal book, one of the best books I've ever read in my life. And I was also aware that The Hobbit was also a prequel to The Lord of the Rings. Now, I was already aware of The Lord of the Rings' existence when, of course, these films were coming out. But I'd not had a chance to see the films at the time. So, I, of course, then bought the books of The Lord of the Rings trilogy here. So, of course, they started in Fellowship of the Ring, and then The Two Towers, and then, of course, The Return of the King. So, I read these books, and I definitely absolutely adore them. They're probably my favourite books of all time together as, one combined. I think they were literally released as one book too at one point, so yeah. Together, they're probably my favourite book of all time, and Tolkien is my favourite author of all time, may he rest in peace. And when it comes to media as well, I, of course, have watched the films by one of my favourite directors of all time, Sir Peter Jackson. And right here, I, of course, have the Lord of the Rings extended editions of a trilogy on Blu-ray here. All the theatrical versions are great in my opinion. I'd probably say that the extended editions to me are the true versions of these films in my opinion. They're the stories that Peter Jackson wanted to tell us, which we couldn't unfortunately get in the cinemas at the time, but we of course got them thankfully in, of course, home media, and also from re-release in cinemas too, which I really love that they've done with this franchise. And this to me is probably in my opinion the greatest movie trilogy of all time, because to me, it's a timeless masterpiece in every possible way, and it holds up phenomenally 2 decades later with amazing acting, and I must also as well say, in my opinion, gorgeous, stunning visual effects and CGI, which makes me question the fact of how old this film is. Sometimes I watch this film and I cannot believe it's over 2 decades old, because in my opinion, it's aged phenomenally with its CGI. It's just incredible in my opinion. Even on rewatches, the Lord of the Rings trilogy hold up beautifully in my opinion. Now, when it comes to the Hobbit trilogy's films, that is, you guys are of course probably going to be wondering what my thoughts are on those. Well, if you thought I'd say they're, in my opinion, they're new things which are disappointing, well, I'm going to reveal to you that I actually really like the Hobbit trilogy. Now, is it as good as the Lord of the Rings trilogy? No, not in my opinion. In my opinion, no Middle-earth media can top the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy, in my opinion, but I still personally think the Hobbit trilogy is good, because my favourite outcome is An Unexpected Journey, but I also love The Desolation of Smaug, and then, of course, the finale in The Battle of Five Armies. In my opinion, they're really good movies. They might not come close to a Lord of the Rings trilogy, in my opinion, but they're still, in my opinion, really good movies. And definitely, in my opinion, really good. And they're definitely, in my opinion, much better than the 2D animated film from 1977, because that's an example of a film I hate that people like. Mainly because it cut out lots of important parts of the story, and in my opinion, it just wasn't good, and that's why I personally hate that film. So, I'll probably say that, in my opinion, Middle-earth media was when it at its peak, in, of course, the early 2000s with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and also with the early 2010s with the Hobbit trilogy, because, yeah, I do like the Hobbit trilogy. However, though, I would, however, say, in terms of media, the franchise has really hit hard times, which I'll get to. And I'd also as well argue that in terms of video game territory, the Lord of the Rings franchise and the Hobbit franchises, in my opinion, were great at their peak in the same eras as their films, in my opinion, I will probably say. So, I, for example, love the games which are based on the films. They're definitely, in my opinion, really awesome games that hold up really well. And even in LEGO territory, Middle-earth franchises are great, such as, for example, LEGO Lord of the Rings, which I played when I was a kid. Love that game very much. And also LEGO Hobbit, which in my opinion is a great underrated game, in my opinion, I must say. It's a big shame that game didn't finish because it only had the first 2 films and not a third film, because it was released before a third film, which is, in my opinion, a very bad move. But it's still, in my opinion, a great underrated game, which I think holds up really well alongside LEGO Lord of the Rings. I'll probably say out of all games, LEGO Lord of the Rings is the best out of Middle-earth LEGO games, in my opinion. And even as well in terms of like action games too as well, which are recent. For example, I definitely really love the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games. War games, in my opinion, are great open world action games which hold up really well, in my opinion. And even games I've played as well on 7th generation, such as, for example, The Lord of the Rings War of the North, definitely, in my opinion, a great game which tied into Peter Jackson's films and the books and featured new characters taking place at the same time as the story of The Lord of the Rings. I definitely really love that game. Definitely, in my opinion, really underrated, and also, in my opinion, holds up really well. However, when it comes to recent times for Middle-earth, it's definitely, for me, hit really hard times. Because, unfortunately, after, of course, we got these films, we unfortunately got a television series released, of course, in 2022. Now, I have, frankly, not seen this show. But based on what I've heard about it and from clips I've seen from what my friends have posted on social media, I do not want to waste a single second of my life watching it. And that is the absolute abomination being The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. But I would happily call it instead The Rings of Wokeness. And not even include Lord of the Rings in the title, because it's Lord of the Rings in name only from what I've seen. Because what is so dumb about it is, it goes completely against what Tolkien wrote for a franchise of his books. It goes completely against it, and it really botches up the lore. And I know it's because I've seen videos from people who've seen the show and of course have criticised its changes, which go against the law of what Tolkien wanted. And I'm really angry about these changes. Not to mention, as all the characters, from what I've seen, are also completely lifeless and bland, and most also are very unlikable as well. And literally, the discount versions of the beloved characters is introduced in the books and in Peter Jackson's films. Like, I have no idea what they were thinking making this. Like, who were we making it for? Definitely not Middle-earth fans, that's for sure. I must also add that all of the cast and crew members who are promoting the show and praising it for going against the books have zero respect from me. Because it's a really dumb move to go against what someone wrote for a franchise by being really unfaithful and praising it. Like, that just really infuriates me a lot. So I really hate it how all these cast and crew are like promoting the unfaithfulness as if it's a good thing when it really isn't. And also from clips I've also seen terrible visual effects and CGI. Because like I said, guys, I still can't believe that Peter Jackson's movie trilogy for Lord of the Rings is 2 decades old. Because this, in my opinion, has miles better CGI than the absolute travesty being Rings of Wokeness. Like, I just can't believe that. It's just really shocking, in my opinion, how this is from 2 decades ago, and it holds up phenomenally compared to trash released a couple of years ago. And also, this show is still going because it's unfortunate it's getting a 2nd season released this year, but I couldn't care less about it. And I have no doubt in my mind it's not going to do well at all when it comes to fans, because it's going to be absolute trash. I've already seen people reacting to the trailers, and even the trailers alone looks abysmal. And I know it's going to be absolute trash, probably even worse than the 1st season, and maybe. Wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, because of the unfaithfulness to the books. And ruining beloved characters. Especially, I must also say, Galadriel. Like, I'd say the character in that show is just Galadriel in name only. It's not Galadriel at all. Definitely not. So, there is no way that character is Galadriel. I'm also, I'll say that for other characters who were in the books, who appear in the show. Like, the show, in my opinion, is a disgrace because it goes against the law of what Tolkien wanted for a franchise, and it ruins beloved characters with also trash visual effects. Like, in my opinion, guys, from what I've seen, there's literally nothing good about the show. Nothing, in my opinion, could probably save the show at all. Nothing. Like, it's just an absolute disgrace to a franchise, and I hope it gets cancelled. It deserves to be cancelled, in my opinion. And I'd also say that Middle-earth as a franchise has also hard times in terms of video games, because last year we unfortunately got the abomination being The Lord of the Rings Gollum, which I've seen people playing it on their channels via playthroughs, and from what I've seen of it, it looks like, in my opinion, one of the worst games of all time. Like, an absolute joke to a franchise, a joke to a Gollum character who I absolutely love. He's one of my favourite book characters of all time. I love Gollum as a character, and this game's ruined him a lot. And the CGI is absolutely abysmal for the game. Like, it's just really shocking how the Shadow of Mordor and War games are older than the Gollum game, and they look miles better, like CGI-wise, character design-wise, everything is so much better. Like, I just can't believe we went from those great games to Gollum, of all games. Like, it's just really shocking in really how we went from great games to bad games. Like, what an absolute joke Gollum is. And I, of course, have no plans to play it whatsoever, but based on the playthroughs we've seen, it looks like I dodged a bullet by not playing it. Because I'd probably say it's the worst Middle-earth game of all time, because it's just an absolute joke to a franchise. And in terms of films, we're also getting a film called The Hunt for Gollum with Andy Serkis set to reprise as well as Gollum. But I have no interest in seeing that film because they're literally making a film out of a really short chapter in, of course, the franchise from what I've heard about it. Like, how can you get a small chapter and turn it into a film? You'd have to probably get other chapters in it. Because The Hobbit did kind of do that in its films by introducing other characters who weren't in the book. But in my opinion, they executed it much better because it made sense, in my opinion. As for Hunt for Gollum, no, it doesn't make sense at all. Like, I'm not sure if it's going to work, guys. I don't have any plans to see it, to be completely honest. I don't think it's going to work. I'll stick to the books, and I'll stick to Peter Jackson's films, and also a great Middle-earth games as well. But I have no plans to see this film, or to watch Rings of Waters, or to play Gollum. Definitely not. So, all I can say is that Tolkien is my favourite author of all time. Love his books, and the films I've seen which are based on his books, I also love too as well. And with great games as well that I've played too. He'll also be my favourite author of all time. And of course, as the hashtag goes, hashtag respect for Tolkien. That's what I'll say. So guys, this is me doing the next episode of Old is Better Than New, where I was saying why, in my opinion, Middle-earth as a franchise is much better in the old than the new. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to put in the comments what you guys think of Middle-earth franchise. Think Old is Better Than New for Middle-earth. Let me know in the comments below. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe and in the future. And I'll see you all later.